They thought he was just another black man on vacation with his wife and daughter. But what the police didn't know was that beneath the calm smile and family warmth stood a man carrying one of the most powerful badges in America, an FBI agent. In the next few minutes, you'll see how a simple family trip turned into a confrontation that could have ended in tragedy, but instead revealed the shocking truth. Before we dive in, if you love powerful real-life stories where justice speaks louder than hate, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story. The sun had just started rising when Marcus Taylor pulled the SUV into the quiet tourist town. The sky was painted in soft streaks of orange and gold, the kind of morning that promised peace. For Marcus, peace was all he wanted. He glanced at the rear-view mirror. His wife, Angela, had her head leaned against the window, her eyes half closed but with a smile playing at her lips. She had been asking for this vacation for years. Life in the city, Marcus's long hours at work, and the constant pressures of bills and responsibility had weighed on her. A lakeside escape had been her dream. In the back seat, Jordan, their 15-year-old son, was pretending not to be excited, headphones stuffed in his ears. But Marcus caught the sparkle in his eyes when he caught sight of the water. Beside him, Maya, their 10-year-old daughter, squealed. "Daddy, Daddy, look at the boats. Are we gonna ride one?" Marcus chuckled. "Slow down, sweetheart. First we unpack. Then maybe we'll see about some boats." The SUV rumbled onto the gravel driveway of the cabin. The cabin was perfect. 2 stories of rustic wood, a wide porch overlooking the lake, and pine trees circling it like guardians. Marcus stepped out, breathing in the clean air. He stretched his arms, letting the tension in his body unwind. To anyone watching, Marcus looked like an ordinary man, tall, broad-shouldered, with the calm confidence of a father who had earned everything through hard work. But Marcus carried something inside him that he didn't let the world see. By day, he wasn't just a husband and father. He was also a senior FBI agent, known for dismantling dangerous networks. He had stared criminals in the face, kicked down doors, and solved cases that had saved lives. Yet none of that mattered here. Here, he was just Dad. And for the first time in months, he allowed himself to believe this trip would be simple, happy, and uninterrupted. Angela stepped out of the SUV, stretching. "Marcus, this is beautiful. You did good." He smiled. "Anything for you." The kids were already running around the porch, racing to call dibs on rooms. Marcus wrapped an arm around Angela as they watched them. 2 weeks, he said softly. 2 weeks of nothing but family, fresh air, and no work. Angela leaned her head on his shoulder. "Sounds like heaven." But Marcus didn't know that their perfect vacation was about to turn into a lesson in survival, justice, and power. And it would all start with the eyes of a few local cops who couldn't see past the color of his skin. The first day passed in laughter and ease. Marcus grilled burgers on the porch while Jordan tried, unsuccessfully, to teach Maya how to skip stones. Angela unpacked inside, humming softly, her voice drifting through the open cabin windows. For once, life felt light. By the second morning, the Taylors were ready for adventure. Angela suggested taking Maya into town for ice cream and a little shopping at the souvenir shops. Marcus nodded. "Good idea. I'll take Jordan down to the lake, maybe rent us a couple kayaks." "Sound good, champ." Jordan gave a shrug, playing it cool, but Marcus could tell he was thrilled. "Yeah, sure. Let's do it." The lake was alive with activity that morning. Families splashing, couples sunbathing, and kids racing along the dock. The air smelled of sunscreen, fresh water, and fried food from a snack stand nearby. Marcus and Jordan approached the rental shack, where a teenage worker handed them bright orange life vests and paddles. They carried the kayaks to the edge of the water, laughing as Marcus pretended to struggle. "These things are heavy," Marcus groaned dramatically. Jordan rolled his eyes. "You're just old, Dad." Their laughter rang out, but it didn't go unnoticed. Across the road, a police cruiser had pulled into a small parking lot. Two local officers leaned against the hood, sipping coffee. Their eyes locked on Marcus instantly. "Hey," one muttered, nudging the other. "You see that guy? Doesn't look like he belongs here." The second officer narrowed his eyes. "Yeah. I don't recognize him. Folks around here usually know each other. Out-of-towners like him, sometimes they bring trouble." "Let's keep an eye on him," the first said, his lips curling into a smirk. They didn't see Marcus as a father enjoying time with his son. They didn't see the harmless joy of a family on vacation. Instead, they saw what they wanted to see, a black man who, in their minds, must have been out of place. Jordan didn't notice the cops at first. He was busy trying to steady the kayak. But Marcus caught them staring. His instincts, sharpened by years of undercover work and interrogation rooms, flared instantly. He knew the look. He had seen it too many times. Marcus kept his voice light for his son's sake. "Careful there, you don't want to tip us before we even leave shore." But in his gut, he felt it, the wrong kind of attention was brewing. And it was only a matter of time before those officers decided to act on it. Jordan had just gotten the hang of balancing his kayak when the sound of heavy boots crunched over the gravel behind them. Marcus didn't need to turn around to know who it was. "Sir, can we talk to you for a second?" a voice barked. Jordan froze, his paddle halfway in the water. Marcus turned slowly, his expression calm but sharp. Two officers stood there, hands resting just a little too comfortably on their belts. "Is there a problem, officer?" Marcus asked, his voice measured. The taller cop smirked. "We've had reports of suspicious activity around here. Mind showing me some ID?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. He'd been through this too many times before. Suspicious activity. "I'm here with my son. Renting kayaks." "What's S?" The second officer stepped closer. "Just routine. Folks don't usually see families like yours around here. Just need to verify you're not causing trouble." Jordan's grip on his paddle tightened. He glanced at his father nervously. Marcus noticed. That cut deeper than anything the cops had said. His son, who had always looked at him like he was invincible, was watching fear creep into a moment that should have been carefree. Marcus forced a calm smile. "Son, it's all right. Just stay in the kayak." Then he looked back at the officers. His tone shifted, polite but firm. "I don't see how kayaking with my boy makes me suspicious. Unless you're suggesting something else." The first cop narrowed his eyes. "You have ID or not?" Marcus pulled his wallet from his pocket slowly, deliberately. He kept his FBI credentials tucked deep inside, out of sight. For now, he offered only his driver's license. The officer snatched it, glancing over it quickly. His jaw tightened when everything checked out. He handed it back reluctantly. "All right," he muttered, "but we'll be keeping an eye on you." Jordan finally spoke, his voice shaky. "Dad, why were they looking at you like that? We didn't do anything." Marcus rested a hand on his son's shoulder. "You're right. We didn't. And sometimes, son, people let their own ignorance guide them instead of the truth. But don't worry, your job is to enjoy this trip. Let me handle the rest." Jordan nodded, but the tension lingered in his eyes. As Marcus watched the officers walk back to their cruiser, he knew this wasn't over. He could read their body language too well. They hadn't gotten what they wanted, and that meant they'd be back. The afternoon sun shimmered across the lake as Marcus and Jordan paddled farther out. For a brief moment, Marcus allowed himself to breathe again. The water was calm, and Jordan was finally laughing, splashing his dad as he tried to race him across the water. But that peace didn't last. When they returned to shore, Marcus immediately noticed the same police cruiser parked closer than before. This time, the officers weren't just watching, they were waiting. Angela's SUV pulled up just as Marcus and Jordan dragged the kayaks onto the sand. Angela stepped out, holding Maya's hand and balancing 2 melting ice cream cones. Her smile faltered when she saw the officers striding toward her husband. "Not again," she whispered. The taller cop called out, his tone sharper than before. "Sir, step over here. We need to ask you a few more questions." Marcus straightened, his jaw tight. "I already gave you my ID. Everything checked out. What exactly is the problem now?" The officer's smirk returned. "We just need to make sure you're not carrying anything illegal. Standard procedure." Jordan's face darkened with anger. "He's not a criminal. He's my dad." "Quiet, kid," the second officer snapped. Angela rushed forward, her voice trembling with fury. "What is going on here?" "He's with his family. You're harassing him for no reason." "Ma'am, stay back," the first officer said sharply. "Your husband is being questioned." Angela's eyes blazed. "Questioned for what? Kayaking with his son? Buying ice cream? Existing while black? This is harassment, and you know it." But instead of backing down, the officers stepped closer to Marcus. One reached for his cuffs. "That's it," he muttered. "Hands behind your back." Maya gasped, her ice cream slipping onto the ground. "Daddy!" she cried, clinging to Angela's leg. Jordan dropped his paddle with a clatter. "Don't touch him!" he shouted, his voice cracking between fear and rage. Marcus stood tall, his calm finally cracking. He locked eyes with the officer, his voice low and cold. "You're about to make the biggest mistake of your career." The officers froze, confused by the sudden steel in his tone. Angela grabbed Marcus's arm, whispering, "Marcus, please, don't let them take you." He gave her a reassuring look, then slowly reached into his back pocket. "Since you insist," he said, pulling out his wallet. He flipped it open, revealing not just an ID, but the gleaming gold badge of a federal agent. The air around them shifted instantly. The officers' smirks vanished. Their faces drained of color. Marcus's voice cut through the silence. "You just tried to cuff a father in front of his children, without cause. You just profiled a man who happens to be a senior agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation." Angela's grip tightened on his arm. Jordan and Maya stared wide-eyed, realizing for the first time that their father's job wasn't just some ordinary office work. The officers stumbled over their words, stammering excuses. But Marcus wasn't finished. Because now, the tables had turned. The lake had gone eerily quiet. Families nearby had stopped mid-conversation. Some clutched their phones, already recording the scene. The two officers stood frozen, their hands awkwardly hanging near their belts, as Marcus held his badge in the sunlight. The gold emblem gleamed. "FBI." Jordan's eyes widened. "Dad!" he whispered, voice full of awe and confusion. Maya clutched Angela tighter, whispering, "Daddy's a secret agent?" Marcus didn't take his eyes off the officers. His voice was low, calm, but carried a deadly authority. the kind that made hardened criminals fold under questioning. "You want to see ID? You got it. But I'm not some tourist you can push around. I am a federal agent. And what you've just done, racial profiling, attempted unlawful detainment, intimidation in front of minors, is more than just unprofessional. It's career-ending." The taller officer swallowed hard. We didn't know, sir. It was just a misunderstanding." Marcus cut him off sharply. "A misunderstanding? You saw a black man with his family, enjoying a vacation, and decided he didn't belong. You didn't misunderstand. You profiled. You escalated. You humiliated my wife and scared my children. That's not a misunderstanding. That's misconduct." The second officer shifted nervously. "Sir, please, we didn't mean—" "You didn't mean to get caught," Marcus said, his words slicing through their excuses. Angela stepped forward, her anger finally finding relief in her husband's authority. "You think you can treat people however you want. But you picked the wrong man today." Tourists gathered, phones raised, whispering. The officers could feel the crowd turning against them. Their arrogance had evaporated, replaced by visible fear. Marcus leaned closer, his voice dropping to a tone that only they could hear. "Do you realize what happens now? Every second of this is on camera. I'm filing an official report with your department and the Bureau. By tomorrow morning, Internal Affairs will know your names. By next week, you'll be answering questions you can't lie your way out of." The taller officer's face turned red. His bravado cracked. He stepped back, looking over his shoulder like a man searching for escape. But there was no escape. Jordan's chest swelled with pride. For the first time since the confrontation began, he saw his dad not just as a victim of harassment, but as the man who turned the tables, calm, powerful, unstoppable. Maya whispered, "Daddy's not scared at all." Angela squeezed Marcus's hand, her voice steady. "That's because he's been fighting bigger battles than these men could ever imagine." And at that moment, everyone watching understood, the officers hadn't just picked the wrong target. They had stepped into a storm they couldn't control. The crowd around the dock grew larger. Mothers pulled their kids close, whispering. Teenagers held up their phones, streaming live. Every lens was pointed at the scene unfolding. Two local officers shrinking under the weight of their own arrogance, and a father who now stood revealed as a federal agent. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. His authority cut deeper than shouting ever could. "You think I'm some random man you can bully," he said, his voice steady as stone. "Wrong. I train officers, good ones, on how to do this job the right way. And you two are a textbook example of what not to do." The taller officer tried to speak. "Sir, we—" Marcus snapped his gaze to him. "Don't interrupt me. You've done enough damage." The officer's mouth clamped shut instantly. Angela folded her arms, glaring at them with righteous fire. "You humiliated my husband in front of his children. Do you know what that does to a family? To kids? My daughter was crying while you tried to put cuffs on an innocent man." Marcus nodded. "She's right. You didn't just target me, you scarred my children with your prejudice." Jordan straightened, his voice trembling but strong. "You treated my dad like a criminal. He's the bravest man I know. And you're cowards." The crowd murmured in agreement. Someone shouted, "Yeah, leave them alone." Another voice added, "We got it all on camera." Marcus let the weight of silence linger. Then he pulled out his phone, dialed a number with deliberate precision, and put it on speaker. "This is Special Agent Marcus Taylor, badge number," he read it out, his eyes never leaving the officers. I need the local department supervisor at Lakeside Pier. 2 of their men just attempted an unlawful detainment of a federal agent in front of witnesses." The officers paled. Sweat gathered on their brows as the crowd gasped. You called your office?" the shorter one stammered. Marcus's lips curled into a cold smile. "No, I called yours." The taller officer whispered under his breath, "Oh, God!" Marcus stepped closer, lowering his voice just enough for them to hear. "This isn't just about me anymore. This is about accountability. And today, gentlemen, you answer for your actions." Tourists cheered. Phones kept recording. The balance of power had shifted completely. For the first time, the officers looked small, 2 men caught in their own trap, with nowhere to run. The tension on the pier was thick enough to choke on. By now, nearly 50 people had gathered, murmuring, recording, and waiting. The officers who had started it all shifted on their feet like guilty children, their badges suddenly feeling heavy on their chests. Then the sharp screech of tires cut through the air. A black and white SUV pulled up fast, and out stepped Chief Daniels, the town's police chief. A heavy-set man in his late 50s with a silver mustache and the stiff gait of authority, he looked around at the crowd with alarm. "What's going on here?" he barked. His eyes landed on Marcus, then on the 2 officers standing awkwardly by his side. Marcus didn't flinch. He held up his badge for all to see, his voice calm but unyielding. "What's going on, Chief, is that your men just attempted to unlawfully detain a federal agent in front of his wife, his children, and half this town." The chief's eyes widened when he saw the badge. "You're FBI. Senior agent," Marcus corrected sharply. "And I have witnesses. Dozens of them. Not to mention several cameras that caught every second." The crowd nodded and raised their phones higher, proving the point. Chief Daniels turned on his men, his face red with fury. "What the hell were you thinking?" The taller officer stammered, "Yes, sir. We thought he was suspicious." "Suspicious?" the chief roared. "Suspicious of what? Kayaking with his son? Buying ice cream? Do you have any idea what you've just done?" The shorter officer tried to step in. "We didn't know who he was." "That's the point," Marcus cut in, his voice slicing through their excuses. "You didn't care who I was. To you, I was just another black man you could intimidate. Well, now you know exactly who I am. And now you're going to deal with the consequences." Angela's voice rose from behind him, steady and strong. "These men terrified my children. My daughter cried while they tried to put cuffs on her father. Is that what your department calls protect and serve?" Chief Daniels looked like he wanted the earth to swallow him whole. His face turned to stone as he muttered, "Agent Taylor, I assure you, this will be handled immediately." "No," Marcus said firmly. "It won't just be handled. It will be documented, investigated, and prosecuted. I'm filing a formal complaint, and the Bureau will follow up directly. I expect their badges on your desk by morning." The crowd erupted into applause and shouts of agreement. Someone yelled, "Yeah! Hold them accountable!" The chief looked around, realizing there was no containing this. Too many witnesses. Too much evidence. His men had humiliated not only themselves but the entire department. The 2 officers looked pale, their careers crumbling before their eyes. They tried to speak, but Marcus silenced them with a single look. "You don't get the last word here," Marcus said coldly. "Justice does." For once, the officers said nothing. The sun had dipped low, painting the lake in shades of orange and gold. The crowd had dispersed hours earlier, the echoes of their support still lingering in the air. The cruiser was gone, the disgraced officers escorted away by their own chief. And at last, the Taylors were back at their cabin, gathered around the crackling fire pit in the backyard. The flames danced across their faces, softening the tension that still clung to them. Jordan poked the fire with a stick, his brows furrowed. Maya curled against Angela's side, her little voice breaking the silence. "Daddy, are they going to take those bad policemen away?" Marcus leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. His expression was gentle, but his eyes carried the weight of the day. "They'll be held accountable, Maya. They made a mistake, and they have to face the consequences. That's how the law works. Nobody is above it." Jordan looked up, his teenage bravado stripped away by what he'd seen. "But, Dad, they treated you like you were nothing. Like you were guilty just for being here. How do you stay so calm when that happens?" Marcus met his son's gaze, his voice steady. "Because losing my temper would have given them exactly what they wanted. Power. But when you know who you are, when you know the truth, you don't let anyone else define it for you. That's real strength." Angela reached over, squeezing his hand. "You showed them, Marcus. Not with anger, not with violence, but with the truth. You showed our children what dignity looks like under pressure." Maya's eyes grew wide. "Does this mean you're like a superhero?" Marcus chuckled softly, pulling her onto his lap. "No, sweetheart. I'm just a man doing my job. A father protecting his family. And that's the most important role I'll ever have." The fire popped, sending sparks into the night. The family sat together, their silence comfortable now, the storm behind them. Finally, Jordan spoke again, his voice stronger this time. "I'm proud of you, Dad." Those words, simple, unpolished, were worth more to Marcus than any commendation or medal he had ever earned in the bureau. He smiled, pulling both of his kids closer. "One day, you'll understand that the world isn't always fair. But when it isn't, you don't back down. You stand tall, you stand true, and you let justice do its work." Angela leaned against him, whispering, "And that's why we love you." Above them, the stars shimmered across the night sky, reflecting in the calm waters of the lake. Their vacation hadn't gone as planned, but it had given them something more powerful than peace. It had given them truth. And for Marcus Taylor and his family, that truth was unshakable. No matter how the world tried to define them, they carried their strength, their dignity, and their love wherever they went. And so, what began as a family vacation turned into a lesson in resilience, courage, and justice. Marcus Taylor showed us all that sometimes the greatest power isn't in the badge or the title. It's in the calm strength of standing tall when others try to bring you down. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss these powerful stories. Until next time, remember, truth always wins.